Okay, so on this question, we are dividing these numbers and answering in scientific notation. So how do we do it? In fact, this 0 is weird. I'm going to change this to be 10 to the 12 power, just to make it more interesting here. Make this 12. Okay. How do we do it? Well, you divide, take the numbers in the front, and you divide. So that'd be 1.606 divided by 7.3 on your calculator. I'm gonna get my calculator. All right, I had to get that ready. Okay, so 1.606 divided by 7.3 on my calculator. I'm getting 0.22. Okay, and now what do you do with the powers? Well, I think you know you subtract, right? But watch out, that can be, it can be confusing. 12 take away. 12 take away negative 48. You see that? Take the number on the top, 12, take away number on the bottom. So you end up with double negative, don't you? 12 plus positive 48, which is actually 60. So it's times 10 to the 60th. We're not done yet, but is that part okay so far? I hope. Is that making sense? So to do scientific notation, to divide these numbers, we divide the numbers in the front on our calculator, got 0.22. And we subtract the powers, right? You know that rule. Like if you had x to the 5th over x to the 3rd, you would subtract it would be x to the 2nd, right? Because this means 5x is 3, 4, 5. This means 3x is cancel, 2 left on top, right? You subtract the powers. So the same thing goes even for really weird numbers. So you have the same base, like x and x or 10 and 10, same bases. You got powers, top and bottom. You subtract them, take the top number minus the bottom. And if the bottom is negative, that's minus a negative, with double negatives add 60. Okay, now this is not our final answer. Why not? Because they asked us to get the answer in scientific notation. This is not, the decimal is not after the first digit. Remember, scientific notation, you've got to have the decimal after the first digit. You can't have it in the very front. So you got to fix that. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to move it one place to right there. So it moves one to the right and it becomes the number 2.2, right? Because that's what it means to be scientific notation. Scientific notation means decimal after the first digit, right? Decimal after the first digit. So scientific notation means decimal after the first digit. Times 10. Now, can I just keep this 60? No, I've got to change the power. How? I've got to change the power in such a way as to make no net effect change to the number. What am I talking about? Over here, when I move this number to the right, I made the number bigger, right? 2.2 is bigger than 0.22, right? Think about money. I said the price on that was 22 cents. This is $2.20, right? It's bigger. So the change I made here made this number bigger. Well, then I've got to make this other part smaller by 1. So it'll come down to 59. Does that make sense? So in other words, I have to change the way the number looks without changing its actual value, right? So it was 0.22 right here. And so it has to I have to move the decimal so that it's after the first digit. And that makes it bigger. And if you make this part bigger, you got to make the other part smaller so that overall you've not changed the number at all. So I move the decimal one place here, making it one place bigger, then I got to make this power one place smaller so that overall I haven't changed the number at all. So the answer is 2.2 times 10 to the 59. That's now in scientific notation because the decimal is after the first digit, like it's supposed to be, times 10 to some power. Does that make sense? Now, if this number had naturally come out okay, like if it had just come out to be like 2.2 automatically, just when I divided, if it had just come out to be 2.2, then I wouldn't have needed to mess around with the power or the thing. I just would have kept it as it is. It would have been great, but it didn't. So sometimes you'll do these and they'll come out they'll come out with the decimal already after the first digit, right? Which is what you have to have for scientific notation, decimal after the first digit. And sometimes they won't. And so if they come out good already, great, just leave them. But if they come out, if they come out after the first digit already, great, just leave them, don't mess with it, you're done. But if it comes out in the wrong spot, like that one did, decimal not after the first digit, then you got to fix them. You got to move that decimal to be after the first digit. And if that means you made the number bigger, then you got to make the other one smaller. Sometimes decimal will be way back here. You have to move it this way. You'll make the number smaller. So then you got to make that one bigger up to 61. You got to do the opposite here of whatever you do there. So if you move the decimal this way, making the number bigger, then you've got to make this number smaller. If you move a decimal to the left, making the number smaller, the first decimal number smaller, then you'd have to make this bigger and make it 61. So that overall, we haven't changed the number at all. So there we go.